If you think you got a better pull-out game than Joe Biden, then pull out your cellular device and go to www.NTTFGPOD.com and subscribe. I'm Rock.
And I'm Archie.
Well, our opinions, they might not matter to some, but...
What are you doing in there?
It's a podcast.
Immature, crass, trashy. And those are their good qualities. These poor schmucks are a couple of IQ points away from eating paste. But when it comes to music, sports, and comedy, well, that's all they know. You're listening to
Not These Two Fucking Guys.
Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast.
Yeah. What do you think about this?
So, what you folks can't see at home, and you know what? I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to post it when this episode drops, because you got to see what I'm seeing. Hold on, stay right there. A little up, there it is. There's the sugar.
Do you see what I see?
So, Archie is one big gray bitch, but for some reason, his mustache thinks he's 22 years old.
I don't know what's going on upstairs.
It's the last thing to go, huh?
It's bro. I have like straggling back hairs that are gray. I got arm hairs.
Bald
that
hair,
are
fucking definitely probably white.
I do have to say downstairs, it's like fucking like well, performance wise, but downstairs it's like fucking it's nice and dark brown.
I don't believe it.
Bullshit.
Let's see.
I'm telling you, I am the last, but on my face, the last thing to go gray. I have a couple eyebrow hairs that are fucking white. A couple of, for some reason, the last thing to go is brown. The mustache is brown. Motherfucker.
So as we're recording, he has a pop filter. And for those you don't know, that's the circular net that goes before the microphone. So when he fucking when he says peas and his
S's.
bees, and when he fucking has his speech impediment, it kind of cuts it down so you don't hear it on the recording, right? So I'm looking at him, and now for some reason he puts a little separation between the old stash and the old goat. I like it, right? But
like
it looked like you had a straight up fucking 70s cop / 70s porno mustache.
Like I look like I was an extra in the Sabotage video for Beastie Boys.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So then I'm like, Arch, do me a favor. I'm like, you fuck with me, step back. He stepped back from the pop filter, and now he looks like Satan if he was an old fuck.
Let me tell you, I sometimes back in the day, if you remember, I used to fucking shave like triangles, fucking weird beard, Holyfield, fucking. I used to my shit used to be bleach blonde. It used to be red. It used to be.
I know.
Fun.
And all our friends, when we go out, we got together and we're like, Arch, do me a favor. With all that shit going on your face, please save some of the girls for the rest of us, okay? Please.
What a dick. So here's a funny story. About 5-6 years ago, me and Honey Boo Boo with a bunch of friends go to a concert in Camden, New Jersey at the BBT Pavilion.
Did you bring a gun with you?
I should have.
Camden's
only
rough.
on the way in. But in, it was fine. On the way into Camden, a little sketchy. So anyway, I said for this show, because like we didn't really go out that much anymore and this and that, I said it's going to be special. For this show, I'm going to fucking do a triangle type beard that I used to have on my chin, and I'm going to dye it Hot Topic red. So I dyed my beard red, right? I dyed my beard red, and I'm walking around. I'm pretty stoned. Got some beard.
That's weird.
That's weird.
That's odd.
So I'm walking around, Hot Topic red beard. Everybody's fucking staring at me.
I'm wearing my Jenkos
because they probably thought I just came out of the pit. Everybody thought I was bleeding. Everybody was coming up to me. Man, are you all right? Yo, man, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm just old looking for attention.
Are you okay? So then we meet Smitty. You know Smitty, a friend of ours?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So Smitty hooked us up through, I'm doing air quotes for people who can't see, Cold Cock Whiskey, which one of my bands was sponsored by. Funny guys they are. They get us backstage. We walk backstage, me and Honey Boo Boo, and I said, just come on. And I grab her hand, and I went, whoa. Jonathan Davis is putting a shirt on. Head fucking jumps into the bathroom. He's like, hey! Fieldy comes over to me and goes, what color's on your chin, man?
He's like, my nuts, yo.
And I was like, oh my God, we're backstage. And Jonathan Davis kids are running circles like around the fucking backstage area. And I just like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, because it just happened so quickly. Like everything I just mentioned happened within seconds. Do you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, oh, this happened and then that happened. It was like, oh, hey, man.
And I'm sure you were in your right mind when this all happened too.
Dude, I drank all day in the parking lot and at the club, at the fucking, what you call it, at the festival. So I think I was like, hot topic?
Hot topic.
Hot topic red? My wife-to-be looked at me and was like, yep, I get all of that.
That's when I knew I had to have them.
Yep. So, anybody else? We did see Ray Lazier. Is that his last name? Lazier, the drummer. We did see Ray. He came over and he talked to all of us. There was like 10 of us. Anyway, that was my one of my red beard stories.
Arr. Arch, I am so excited tonight for our guest.
Oh, yeah.
I know I say this a lot, but this guy is by far one of my favorite fighters of all time. And he does it all. He's a podcaster. He's a fireman. He's a boxer. He's an MMA icon and pioneer. Please welcome to Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast, Mr. Chris Lytes Out Lytle. What's up, dude?
What is happening, man? I appreciate that. And when you say pioneer, I know what that means. That means I'm old as hell. I get it.
No, man, no.
I feel it, man. Don't worry about it.
So, relative to today, you actually kind of retired from MMA young. You were about 37, 38?
Absolutely. I was 37, just turning 37. And, I probably retired. I don't want to say too early, but I left a lot of money on the table a lot of time. I mean, I won 5 out of my last 6 fights. I was really hitting my stride. I was doing everything I wanted to do. But, there's a lot of I really just started feeling like I wasn't, I've been doing this for a long time, all my adult life, really, and been fighting, doing whatever. I had kids. I was, had a job on the fire department. I just felt like I was gone all the time. I wasn't around my house at all. I started feeling really guilty, just being home a little bit. I had an injury and spent a little bit of time at home, and I was like, man, I'm not being around my kids. My kids are getting older. I had kids in high school. I was like, man, I'm missing basketball games and everything like that. And for the first time ever, I felt guilty being in the gym. And I was like, man, I'm done. I'm gonna retire after this fight. And that's when I was getting ready to fight, main event against Dan Hardy. So I was like, this is it. And I said that, and it made me be able to go to the gym the full time and train hard. Cause this is my last fight. I'm gonna put everything into it. But it's a bad thing, but it's also a really good thing because I don't know anybody who really goes out on their top.
Yeah.
Everybody I see goes out on the bottom, when they're getting knocked out 3 or 4 times or submitted a bunch. It's like, man, and you're going, please stop. The memories of you that I have are gone. They're not there anymore. I keep thinking of your last 3 fights. I mean, you remember the old times, but like, he started getting knocked out. You know what I mean? So I don't like that. I never got knocked out. I wasn't able to get submitted. So I was like, I finished on top of my game and I was able to walk out. I quit the sport for several years. I came back and had 3 bare knuckle fights because something's wrong with me and I can't not fight.
Jesus Christ.
And so I remember it's funny. I was at the gym and somebody showed me on Facebook. It's like, look, Joe Riggs did a bare knuckle fight in Europe. I said, what the hell's wrong with Joe? And I said, let me see this thing. I started watching it. About halfway through the second round, I remember I talked to the guys like, how do you think I can do this? And the guy's like, dude, you just said how stupid it was. I'm like, I know, but I kind of I got to do it once, you know what I mean? And I got a hold of them, went over to England, had a fight, and I was like, okay, I'm done. And they called me over here, like, we got it legalized in America. You want to do it? It's like, yeah, I got to do a couple. So
do you think, like, because we interview a lot of fighters, man, and some of them bare knuckle, some of them transferring to bare knuckle. Do you think as being, like, you know, using MMA and being in the UFC and watching bare knuckle, what's that drive that, like, I just want to do that real quick, almost like you want to switch a sport? Is it like,
man, I mean, to me, it's almost like, you know, MMA is, when I first started doing MMA back in the 90s, you know, it was different. It was raw. You could headbutt, you could knee a guy in the head on the ground, you could soccer kick him. I mean, headbutts, that was a big thing, you know. Very little rules, very little weight classes. It was raw fighting, you know what I mean? And it's kind of, I don't want to say tamed down, but it is. You know, you got, you know, the glove. It's more of an athletic contest now and not a fight. And bare knuckle gets back to that raw, like, just no gloves. It's like, dude, this is a fight. You know what I mean? It's not about an athletic contest of trying to hold a guy down or outpoint him. It's like, I'm going to try and knock this guy's head off. He's going to try and punch me. I mean, it's just something about it that it's like a throwback to me. That's what it brought me back. Like, the UFC grew up, you know, and I was there when it grew up. And this is back before it grew up now. This is me fighting again in 1999 or 2000, you know, and that's what it reminded me of when I went and did my first bare knuckle fight. You know, I was like, it's just a different kind of mentality. I mean, I love the bare knuckle so much. I'm doing commentary for them now. I just enjoy it. I'm getting ready to leave. In 2 days, we have a BKFC 20, and, you know, I'm super excited for it.
And let me just say, you know, I've gotten into the bare knuckle more and more. Obviously, BKFC is getting really big. You do a fantastic job, you know, commentating. I think it's a good perspective, because it's a guy who's done MMA, who's boxed and bare knuckle fought. So it's a unique perspective that not a lot of people that, you know, can give.
Well, that's kind of the goal, you know. I felt like, you know, I went in there and did a couple fights, and I was like, man, I really like this sport. And that's another thing. The reason I know a lot of people going, why are all these older MMA guys going to bare knuckle? And you know, when I was retired from the UFC, you know, I remember at one point I thought about coming back and just having a fight, because, you know, I got that competitive nature in me. And I was talking to Matt Mitrione, and he's like, well, Chris, you came to the gym today. How you feel? Like, I feel fine. He's like, you going to come in tomorrow? I'm like, probably. He's like, are you going to go? He's like, how are you going to feel if you train hard for a week straight? I was like, I can't do it. He's like, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can't do MMA when you get old like that. I mean, the grappling, the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu, the boxing. I mean, it's a lot on your body. Bare knuckle's so easy. I mean, not easy, but 2 hands. That's all you got to worry about. You know, in the training, you just got to go in there and box. You got to shadow box. You got to do some fresh. Your body doesn't get torn up. Your back doesn't hurt. Your legs don't hurt. Your shoulders. It's not the same. So that's why I think a lot of these guys, you know, your body's going to break down eventually. And the more you do MMA, it's not the years, it's the mileage on your body. And I think that's what a lot of people are going, I can still fight. I still got the fighting spirit. I still got good hands. I still have toughness, but my body can't handle it. Well, what do? You go bare knuckle. It's no brainer, man. I mean, it's got the same thought process, but this is just the stuff you like to do in the training. And not that it's easier, but it's just easier on your body, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. And, you know, the fact that, you know, I said that I felt like you retired, you know, a bit young. You packed over 50 fights from 99 to 2011, and you took time off, you said. Like, that's remarkable.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I have more than that, because really, I mean, when I first started fighting, in 98. I probably had 12 to 15 wins in there that they don't recognize on my record, because, you know, even though I got paid, they went back later and they're like, that wasn't a sanctioning body in that state, you know, but nobody has sanctioning bodies back in the day. So probably from, you know, 98 to 2001, I probably had 15 wins that they don't have on my record, because they went through and took them away. They used to be on there, but they took them away. So. And
you had a ton of boxing fights in a short period of time as well. Like you seem to cram a lot of fights in it, make the most of your time.
Man, there was times when I remember, I mean, the only boxing match I lost, I remember I had a boxing match, and then like 2 weeks later I had an MMA fight, and then 2 weeks later I had another boxing match. And this is just me being kind of I want to say arrogant in a way, not arrogant, but kind of cocky. I thought I could just knock people out. And so I was still in the old school mentality of fight whenever you can. But then, people started getting good where you have to like peak and then fight. And then you go up to that, like now I'm telling people, if you want to fight, you got to have like a 6-week camp. That's when your body's going to, like, at least for me, my body would peak at 6 weeks and then it would go down afterwards. And then you take time off and you do it again. But I mean, I was just never really letting myself peak and then go down and peak. It was just like, go. And so you become stagnant, man. So I didn't really, that was just me being stupid and not really realizing my body and understanding. I mean, this is real. You have to really take this serious. And if you're not peaking and somebody else is, and they're good, it's going to be a tough fight.
Sure. And I think that's what the even like hardcore fight fans don't maybe realize how you're saying, okay, yeah, let's say you fight 3 times a year, 4 times a year. They don't understand the length of your camp and the time you're away from your family. And that's the part that I feel like a regular fan may not realize. I'm like, well, I mean, they're fighting 3 times a year. They train, but it's got to be grueling to just be away from your family that long.
Well, what it usually was like most fighters are in the gym all the time, no matter what. So I never got out of shape, so if I was always going to go to the gym. Now, 6 weeks out, and I had to make sure it was only 6 weeks out because sometimes I tried to do it 8 weeks out and my body would, I'd overtrain. So 6 weeks out, that's when I'd say, okay, my life changes now. Now I have to go to bed early. Now I'm doing 2-day practices, sprints in the morning or, plyometrics or just doing different kinds of various really strenuous workouts in the day. Eating healthy, no alcohol, all that stuff, no sweets, no fattening foods. I'm going in at night, doing all your hardcore sparring, rinse and repeat, doing that day in, day out, and that's very taxing on your body. It takes all your time and it's kind of all you can concentrate on. You're always tired. You're always sore. Just trying to not get injured. But I mean, yeah, but the other, that's not when you get good at fighting. That's when you get in shape for fighting. The other times when you're not in camp, when you're not, practicing for that fight, that's when you work on getting stronger. That's when you work on learning new moves. That's when you grow and you elevate your levels of fighting. But the fight time, that's all about getting better or not getting better. It's all about getting in shape for the fight.
Cool. Like you said before, you had a storybook send off, and in combat sports, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10 that's not what happens, and it's usually And just speaking as a fan, I've seen some of my favorite fighters just, get hurt or get knocked out. And it's just like, and at that point you're more than a fan. You want their safety and you're feeling for them. But you got like the storybook send off, the submission of Dan Hardy, who was at the top of his game at the time. And then I remember, I want to say your family came in the cage afterwards. It was just like, it was such a friggin' feel good moment that I'm like, as much as I love you as a fighter, I'm like, I hope he never fights again because it doesn't get better than this.
Yeah, how can you top it? And I remember when I was like, I decided I was going to do that. I told you, I talked to the family, we decided, and then I trained my ass off when I went there. I remember the day before, the fights, I sat down, I wrote out 2 letters. I one to Joe Silva for all his opportunities he gave me, and one to Dana White, and I didn't tell them yet. So I walk up, I wanted to be surprised. Not really surprised. I still wanted to be in the extra, what is your last fight? So at the weigh-ins, I walk over and I hand Dana the letter. And that was just it. I didn't say anything. I just wanted to be like, hey, man, I just thanked him for the opportunity and how he was able to change me and my family's life. And, just this, just a thank you letter, really.
Very nice.
And letting them know why I was retired. And, but when you do that, there's a lot of pressure on you. I want to win my last fight, main event. And I'm going in there against Dan Hardy, that's tough as nails right now. He just a couple fights before that, he fought St. Pierre, and St. Pierre couldn't finish him. So okay, this is gonna be a tough one. I know it's gonna be a tough fight. And we went out there and banged out, had a good time, and I got fortunate. I was shocked. He shot it on me with like a minute to go. What's he doing? He's not supposed to shoot on me, and he did. I was like, all right, took my submission. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was a definitely a tremendous moment. And I just feel like that, again, that's the exception to the rule in combat sports. Like that usually doesn't happen. And it's got to be a good feeling that you hung him up with gas left in the tank. So some of these athletes, unfortunately, they may have to fight because they need the money or what it is that, they're cruising into town on fumes. Like you had a ton left in the gas tank. And I think that says a lot.
Well, like I said, I've seen a lot of fighters who, most of them they don't go out the right way. And I see them later. I'm like, they don't quite act right. And I'm like, man, my people always told me when I was fighting, they're like, we're not going to drive this car till the wheels fall off. And I'm like, I know what you mean. They said, we're going to use fighting. It's not going to use us. Like they've seen people who get used by the sport, boxing. And I mean, that's what you're talking about. The guy who doesn't have enough money. And this is the only thing they do to make money. And they get used up at the end. They start fighting for cheap and fighting people they shouldn't. And there's a lot of problems. I mean, it's not good. And that's always been one of my biggest things, especially with UFC fighters who helped build this organization. I always thought they need to do something like set up if you fought, like the NFL has a package. If you play for 4 years, you get a pension. I'm thinking, okay, we don't do years, but okay, let's say you fight 12 times in UFC, you get some form of a pension. $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month. I don't know. And if you fight 20 times, you get $5,000. I don't know, some kind of pension system set up where you don't have these guys who shouldn't be fighting anymore, but they have to. I don't want to see that, man. So I think they should set something up there like that, and it just isn't happening yet. So.
Yeah, we just talked to Bob Ballou not too long ago, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, we're not looking for, $1 million a year. We're looking for maybe a couple $100, like whatever time you served in there is. I think that's only right, for the athletes.
I mean, the problem, I've talked to people about that, and they say, here's a problem with it. Like the NFL, you're a part of the team. They said, if you're in the UFC, you're like an independent contractor.
Freelance.
So they don't do it. I'm like, here's the thing. An independent contractor has to wear a uniform. This is what I have to wear. Not have my sponsors. The independent contractor has to tell USADA where they are 24/7. The independent contractor can't fight for anybody else. We're not independent contractors when you're fighting for them. You're part. I mean, you're contracted to them, just like you are in the NFL, just like anything else. So if you're there and you're fighting, to me, you are an employee, and they need to start, doing the right way. I mean, there's lawsuits going against them. They're probably going to lose eventually. If they would be proactive and take just a small percentage of their money and put it in some kind of pension fund, I think it'd be very smart. But Dane, if you're listening to this podcast, pay attention.
Yeah. We hope he is.
I don't know if he does. He might.
Yeah. No, that's some great words right there. It's very true.
Speaking of podcasts, let's talk about yours, the Lytes Out Podcast. Very cool. Very, very cool.
Thank you, man. I love it. I just got with I've been around the sport forever, and I love it when me and some of my old school friends get together. We start telling stories, and I start hearing other fighter stories, and they're so funny and they're so hilarious. Old school days are the best, man. When you were back in 2000 and 2001 or the 90s, man, it's unbelievable where this sport came from and where it's at now. These people will never really understand that. They look at you like, what are you talking about? It's like, this was real. So we saw that stuff. We're talking about it. I started talking to some of my buddies like, Miguel, I always used to fight for him and hook and shoot, great guy. And my buddy Mike Davis were like, man, we need to capture these stories. And luckily, Miguel did a lot of fights with hook and shoot and Bodog, and he had a good group of contacts. So do I. So we said, man, let's do it. So we started getting a hold of a lot of fighters and just, tell us your story, man. Tell us how it started for you. Like, let's go through your career. Through a microscope, and let's check out your first fight, your second. I mean, and the early stories are nuts, man. Like when people fighting in 96, 97, no rule. It was just, it's so unbelievable that people don't. You're going to lose this history if we don't record it. So that's all we're really focusing on, is trying to get these old school guys, or some of them are still new, but everybody's got a pretty awesome story about how they got to where they're at right now. And I just love breaking it down and listening to that stuff, man. So that's what we do with the Lytes Out Podcast.
I got to listen to this episode, Rock. He had on John Fitch. We had John Fitch on too. He had an interesting take on the UFC. I don't know. Cousin, I don't know how. I don't know how your episode went, and I'm going to listen to it because I just want to hear it. I know he had an interesting take on ours. That's all. So who knows?
I'm sure it's the same, fairly the same story. You know what I mean? Because I remember when I was fighting there, he always was kind of at odds with him. You know what I mean? And I was. You gotta understand, I come from a little bit different, but I fought for the UFC before Zuffa bought it, before Dana White and them were involved with it. So, and I remember after I fought for him, I ain't even going to tell you how much money I made because it's embarrassing. But it was a lot less than even I made with Zuffa. And I remember afterwards I said, I thought this ain't going to make it. So I went back over and I said, I don't want to fight these guys anymore. I went over and started fighting in Japan again because they treated like a professional fighter there. And the UFC, in my opinion, they didn't back then, back in 2000 or whatever. So it wasn't until Zuffa and them got involved and really started changing things around. So I had a total different perspective, especially when I went and I watched. I remember I fought Robbie Lawler, and I got what I thought was one of the fight of the nights at UFC 45, and I come back and they asked me to fight outside the UFC, get a win, and I did. I fought Pete Spratt and beat him, and I come back and fight in UFC 47. So I only missed one. That's how it shows you how few they put on back then. But then
that's every week.
Yeah, I only missed one UFC. So then but they offered me like the same pay as I got for Robbie Lawler. And I'm like, no, I fought fight of the night, man. I deserve more money than that. And they're like, Chris, this is what the fight pays. Either do it for this or we'll get somebody else. Eventually I agreed and I did it. But I mean, I went and watched the video and they're talking about how at one point, right around this time, they're about $44 million in debt. And so I looked at it like me as someone who puts on fights and does like, here they are, $44 million in debt, and they got this guy here who just loses to Robbie Lawler and has the balls to be like, I need more money, and they're like, no. I mean, I get that now. If I'm losing that much money, this is what I can offer you, man. And if you don't like it, go fight. I'm the best guy who's going to offer you the most. This is all you really deserve right now. I understand that now. I look at it from all points of view, not just my point of view, so I get it. Everybody's different. And I was fortunate enough to have, like I said, I was on the fire department then. I just love fighting. You know what I mean? It wasn't what I had to do to live. So my situation was different, but I just see things from different point of view than a lot of other people.
Are you retired now?
For what?
Firefighting?
No, I still do.
All right. What do you got? How long?
I've been doing it over 20 years.
So you're almost done. You're almost done.
I could be done, man. Like here's the problem. I actually enjoy going to work, man. You know what I mean? It's not bad. You go hang out with your buddies. It's like your second family, and you just get to wait around to help people. I cook good food and work out, watch movies, and do. We got
a bunch of good friends that are firefighters. Yeah, we understand.
You got good
we got firefighter friends. Yeah, we hear the stories. We're like, I'm making chicken franchise tonight, bro, for the whole house. But
but then they get the runs. They get to save a kid who drowns. That changes you.
One of our good friends is a Jersey City firefighter in New Jersey, right? And so it's an active town, we'll call it. It's an active city, and he fucking seen people's brains on the ground, like from shit like that. And then it's got its ups and downs. But I tell you what, as far as talking to you as a fighter, that's a very good backup plan move. You got a pension. So that's, what I'm saying? Yeah. So at least you could have, I'm fighting. I'm going to give it all I got. But at least I got a little something in the background. I got something in the bank coming. Absolutely.
So like I said, I had a different level of cushion than I think a lot of other fighters had. It was positive for me, probably negative in some way about all the time I had to spend away from, training to be at the fire department, but man, it left me with a peace of mind. And, it's just, like I said, I don't know too many firefighters who are in a bad mood. They always seem to be pretty happy because they're happy with what they do. And it really puts things in perspective for you. Like, I might have a great fight, be fight the night and knock out the night or something like that. And you think you're, Billy Badass and everything, you're the greatest thing in the world. And then you go to work the next day and you're mopping floors, you're like, I'm not, it helps to keep things in perspective. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not that cool. Or like, you might have an old lady fall and break her hip. And then you're like, okay, you start seeing how, man, that fight last night wasn't that important compared to what's going on with you. You know what I mean? So it just helped me keep things in perspective.
Oh, yeah.
And do you think like that blue collar mentality made you the fighter you were? Because you fought, no easy fights at this level, obviously, but like you fought everybody and like never turned down fights. And like, and so obviously I Archie's an MMA fan like myself, but like I kind of got him into it. And I tried to tell him like Chris, like he didn't go out to like win a decision. He went out there to like take somebody's head off. Every shot was thrown with like the worst intentions possible. And what I think is so underrated is your jiu-jitsu is so good. So good.
But thank you. I appreciate
and
it.
I feel like you never. I feel like you never actively tried to use it. Like you just want to throw hands.
Man, that's probably the best and the worst thing ever happened to me when I started doing pro boxing. I was like, I love this stuff, man. And luckily, I was born with a good chin. You know what I mean? So I think you're either born with that or you're not. So, I had no problem going in there and trading. And I actually, you get hit a couple of times and it motivates you to hit somebody harder. And there's something when you're trading like that and the crowd's going nuts. Man, that's about as good of a feeling as there is. Like, I enjoyed the fights that I go in there and I win quick, but there's always something about a knockdown, drag-out fight that you have to overcome it, and especially when you, like, mentally break somebody and you beat them, there's nothing like it. You know what I mean? It's like I went in there with, like, a big, strong, one of the most talented guys in the world, and I just out-toughed his ass. You know what I mean? Like you said, that blue-collar mentality, oh, hell yeah, that's all I got, is I'm not bigger or stronger or faster than most guys, but I think I'm tougher and I'm going to try harder. I'm going to work harder. I'm just going to go out there and grind it out, man, and hit you as hard as I can every time. And I'm going to try and let you do that not really let you do it to me, but when you hit me, if I keep coming, that wears you. I mean, I've done that to people. I've had boxing matches where I hit them with everything. I'm like, dude, I can't stop. I don't know what to do. I mean, it's nervous. Like, I can't hurt him. You know what I mean? Luckily, I was better fighter than them. I could beat him, but man, that's just hardy. Yeah. So always been my mentality. And here's another thing. You talked about not turning down any fights. I had a couple fights. I only talk about where I was injured and I probably shouldn't have fought, but I have this, like, I don't know if it's a sickness or a foot or what it is, but like, I can't turn down a fight. I mean, the way I look at it is, if I was a guy who I thought I could beat anybody in the world at any given night, I really honestly believe that. So I feel like if you have that mindset, how can you turn down a fight? I'm like, if I start turning down fights, my confidence is going to say, I'm not the best guy in the world. I can't beat these guys. So I always had to be like, I can beat any. I don't, just give me the night. I can catch him in this, or I can hit him with that. I always felt like I do that to anybody. So I'm never going to turn down a fight because I feel like I have a chance, even if like I was always injured somewhat. So I'm like, even if my knees mess up, I'm like, all right, I can still win this fight. I just have to do A, B, and C. So I always felt like if I turned down a fight, it was going to mess with my confidence. So no matter what, I like, we hear that, what's that, what's the little game? Not Sean O'Malley. And I was like, I'm not fighting these good guys because I'm not getting paid right. I'm like, dude, that was never my thought, man. I'm like, I don't care. I mean, if you're paying me to fight, I'm going to come fight anybody as hard as I can, man. I mean, that's the problem. Like I said, nowadays it's more, and it is smarter. And I'll be the first to admit, I did a lot of stupid shit in my career that probably cost me some fights. I probably could have got a takedown here and there, and I probably could have tried to manage a fight and win a couple of decisions. Never going to happen, man. I tried to win one decision in my career, and that was against Matt Sayre the first time we fought. And after that, I was like, I'm never doing that again. I don't care. I'd rather lose every fight trying to go out there and take people out than try and win it a boring decision. I'm just not doing it, And after that, my career turned over better. So,
and I totally agree. I feel like you're just not the type of fighter that would even be able to do that, even if you tried to like I'm just gonna try to eke out a decision because again, and I'm sure this is what why the fans gravitate you: fights of the night, submission of the night, knockout of the night. Like, you were in an exciting fight every time you fought, and that run you went on was legendary. And the fact again that you had the wherewithal to say, hey, this is it. I'm gonna be with my family. I'm gonna retire. I'm gonna go out on top. And you were on a huge run, and that's pretty awesome.
And yeah, I was really trying to get that title fight and everything. And it's funny because at first that's all you really think about was title fight, and then at some point my goals changed everything. It's like I had to win, but I had to win my way. I wasn't willing to go out there, like I said, I'm not willing to try and win at all costs. And at some point, if you really want to get to that title, it's almost what you have to do. How many times have you seen it when they go, whoever wins this fight gets a title fight? The title, those fights always suck. I mean, they're never entertaining because they're boring, because both guys are afraid to lose. Like, I gotta manage, I gotta win this fight. I gotta win at all costs. And I'm like, I did that once, and after that I said I'm never doing it again. And I think out of my next 14 fights, I won 10 bonuses. You know what I mean? And there's a couple I thought I should have had that I didn't get that kind of pissed me off. But I remember one of them. Okay, I'll give you two funny ones, man. Okay, so I fought Matt Brown in like UFC 116, and I was like, I got him in a double submission, like a triangle / reverse triangle armbar. I was like, oh, that's fine, sub of the night for sure, And then Brock Lesnar gets beat up by Shane Carwin for like the first round, and then he just takes him down and like squeezes his head like this, and they gave him the sub of the night. I was like, dude, that's the easiest sub. That's not that 70 grand's not going to pay for his growth hormone this year. That's some shit. What the hell? I wasn't happy about that. So there's one. The second one was, this one's terrible, man. I think it was a UFC in Indianapolis. It might have been right before that. I can't remember, but I fought Matt Serra. And afterwards they came up to me like, hey man, we got something for you, Chris. And they handed me this envelope, and it was like fight of the night. I was like, oh, thank God. I came home. I told my wife, we got fight of the night. I got like 70 extra grand. I'm all happy. So next morning I wake up, I'm skipping around all happy, and then my phone rings, and it's a UFC. The guy goes, Chris, I don't know how to tell you this, man. So I'm just going to say it. I made a mistake. I thought you got the fight of the night, and you didn't get it. God. And so I just sat there for a minute, and he's like, I'm going to need you to get the check back. And so I said, man, I already cashed it. And he goes, Chris, it's Sunday. And I just started laughing. I was like, yeah, I tried to laugh.
Oh, my God.
He was like, so they had to give it back, man. I was like, hey, like, you messed up. That should come out of your pocket, bro. But I don't know. What are you going to do, man? So they took 70 grand from me.
That's insane. That's insane.
So I should have had, in my opinion, I should have had 12. 12 bonuses.
So, on a side note, really, UFC since its inception has been frugal with their money. No? Or no? Like they just been like frugal with their money.
Well, like I said early on,
not really frugal. No, I'm sorry.
They had to be. I mean, early on they were losing money, man. I mean, so when you're down 40-something million, you got to be like, hey, we can't be paying people. Okay, I've given this speech before. I'm telling people how you remember Affliction when they came out.
Yes, clothing line. Yeah.
Affliction was great. They said we're going to pay fighters what they deserve, and they did. And they put on 2 fights, and they went out of business. They were bankrupt. I mean, they just so you can't really do that now. I think the pendulum has swung this way now. The UFC had to because they were broke, and now it's went this way, and they got money now. So now, to me, it'd be a shame for all of a sudden all the fighters that start getting tons and tons of money. Like I said, what I would like to see is some of these old school fighters like myself, and not like me, I'm fine, but other people, I think they should get some of the benefits too for helping build this thing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that should be done really because they got the money now, and I understand fighters need to take all they can and take why they can. But at the same time, those people who didn't get it, they need to be they need to be taken care of as well.
I think part of it too is, in comparative to the pay in boxing. And I think that like the UFC doesn't want to set a precedent of paying somebody a certain amount because then it kind of jumps everyone else's pay up. And I know they're even like a big standoff right now with, they don't want to pay John Jones the money he wants to fight Francis Ngannou. And I think that they feel like if they concede that's going to open up a can of worms for them to have to pay other fighters.
Yeah, the door opens. Once you let one, we got to let them all. So.
Well, I mean, the game has changed since Conor McGregor. I mean, he's really been the first one to hold more of the cards in the UFC, and they've had to bow down to him, and they do. And I don't think they want to let that keep happening because it's only with people who really move that needle that they have to do that with. You know what I mean? So boxing is just such a different animal, because when you pay for boxing, you're paying for that one fight. That's it. You're only paying for the main event. That's how they built. Like the UFC. It is a full card of different fights typically, and you're knowing, okay, there's 5 fights on this card. I'm going to get 1 or 2 good fights. And the guys in the early parts, like guys in the prelims are making more than the early fighters in a big boxing match. Like some of those guys who find the card early boxing matches, they might put on 12 fights. You don't see 9 of them, and those guys aren't making that good of money. You know what I mean? Sure. So this is a full organization where boxing is just that one. I mean, you don't know what you fight for the WBO, ABC. I mean, you don't even know what it is. Really. It's just this match. So there is a little bit different. And with boxing, it's a one-time money grab. This whole fight it's a different animal. And the pay scale there is totally unfair as far as the main guy gets everything and the prelim guys don't get that, so it's a little bit different. I get it. But yeah, there's obviously room for the UFC to be paying people more, but everybody thinks they deserve more. I don't know, man.
What do you think of, especially like an upcoming fight like Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul, like that? Like, does that kind of stuff interest you? Where you're like, hey, listen, I'll go fight this YouTuber and
Hell yeah, man. I as soon as Jake Paul had a fight, I think I put something out on Twitter, one of those things. It's like, hey man, you want to come to Bare Knuckle and do some real fighting? I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll bring you over here. You know what I mean? I would love to do something like that. Matter of fact, that thing the Oscars getting ready to do, somebody brought that up to me a long time ago. And I was like, I'm in, man. Let's do it. I'd love to fight Oscar. I'm surprised he went with Vitor because he's so much bigger. Because he said he wanted to fight a guy with some boxing. I was like, me. I'm checking all the boxes here. Let's do this. And, I didn't even bring it up to them. Somebody brought it up to me, one of the guys from that organization. I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. I was dying to do that, man. But I'm sure they went with a guy who's, fought way more recently than me. So I get it. But, I'd still love to do that fight, man. Or hell, man, give me any of these guys. I mean, I still train boxing all the time. I enjoy doing it. But, I don't want to fight some 25-year-old up and coming, Olympian. I want to fight a old ass 44-year-old guy who does cocaine all the time and drinks like Oscar. You know what I mean? Like this.
Any more bare knuckle fighting in your future?
You know what? I've thought about it, and I kind of went in there and I did some training. I was like, man, I mean, it'd have to be. I'm not saying there's no chance, but not right now. I mean, I enjoy doing the commentary. I'm getting ready to be in there. I mean, there's a couple of fights that would be interesting to me, but I mean, they'd probably have to come out of pocket pretty good. I don't know how that would work now.
Sure. I see on the next card, Alan Belcher is making his bare knuckle debut.
Yep. Heavyweight.
Yeah. I follow him on Instagram. He's bulked up.
He's a big. You know what? He was always big as hell, man. I remember I was like, "How's this guy make 85?" I remember he fought my buddy Patrick Cote, and he picked him up and piled him to the ground and knocked him out like that. I'm like, that's not even fair. How do you do that? But I mean, he was a big guy, and I always liked him. I was a good fighter, man. So I really look forward to having him, do bare knuckle. Let's see how he does. I think he'll like it. Yeah,
for sure. You talked a little bit before about UFC 116 when you fought Matt Brown. It's funny. I don't know why, but that was one of my favorite UFCs. Just the whole spectacle of it, and really? We've had Chris Lieben on, and that he
great fight too.
He beat
man.
Akiyama from a come from behind victory after he had fought 2 weeks earlier, and then your fight was awesome, and that stayed on my DVR. I'm going to say for at least almost 3 years before I moved it. I moved it and got erased. I swear to God, that was one of my favorite UFCs.
That was a fun one, man. Like I said, I was all excited after my fight. I was like, okay, there's something. Then Chris Lieben, I was like, it's gonna be tight. And then Brock, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be tough, man. But I mean, that was a card of good fights, man. It's funny, I actually really wanted to fight Matt Brown just because of the way he fought. And those are the guys I like. I asked for fights like those. That's why I told Joe Silva, I was like, man, don't put me in there with a wrestler who's going to try and eke out a decision. Put me in there with a guy who's going to try and beat me up and knock me out or submit me. And I'll do fine with my promise. Matt was just wrecking people, dude. I love the way after I retired, he's one of the guys I like to watch. Him and Robbie Lawler and just, Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I don't care if you win them all, man, but you got to come out and fight. That's all I care about. And, that's who guys I want to fight. And
I think that's it. And that's what endears you kind of guys like you said, like Matt Brown. You guys are warriors. You guys, it endears you to the fans that you come to fight. It's not you're not trying to eke out a decision. It's not trying to, you guys just always come to fight, and wherever you go, you're prepared. So that's awesome.
Man, I think you could the people like that are the guys who used to fight back when I started fighting back in 1998, there was no money in this sport and there wasn't much fame. So if you fought, it's because you just like to fight. I mean, there's no place in the world you'd rather be than in some dark, dank little basement where people were fighting. That was my first fight. It's in like Richmond, Indiana, in some little karate dojo basement. It was like something out of Fight Club. It's like, oh my God, this is nuts. But man, there's no place else in the world you'd rather be. So I don't know if all these guys nowadays would be like that. I think they'd be like, this is too dirty and there's not enough. The ambiance is not right. My atmosphere, my cornerman can't get in here. Like, dude, none of us thought like that. We're just, old school roughneck guys who just like to get in there and fight.
Yeah.
And, those are my kind of people I like.
Now, are you training fighters now? Training with fighters that are currently fighting? Who are some of the guys that you're with?
Well, I had been, working with Matt Iturrate quite a bit. He just retired himself. He's another old dude like myself. And then got some new up and coming guys. I got a guy named Cameron Van Camp who's I was just talking with earlier about getting in the UFC here. So we got and then just a lot of newer guys who have a lot of potential. But I mean, man, I just went through a couple of different. Had a guy named Andrew Holbrook who made a little UFC run. A guy named Garrett Wiley went there for a while. Shamar Bailey. So I think there's been like 5 guys from my gym who've made it to the UFC ever since, like myself. So 4 more. So like we've been consistently putting some people in there, but they always got a new crop of people. So it's just trying to work with these new guys and guide them and lead them. It's always fun.
So let's hop back real quick to the podcast. I feel like, you listen to it and I hear you talk to some of these fighters and like the way that you could relate to them, like that nobody could, like somebody from the outside couldn't, that you've been through the wars. Do you feel that that's like, was that why you started the podcast in the first place?
Yeah, well, like I said, a couple things. The main one is to get these stories out, but they're not going to tell these stories to certain people. You know what I mean? I really love that we did Josh Neer the other day. And, I had Mike Davis and Miguel got a hold of me. He's like, I ain't doing it if Chris ain't there. He's like, because you guys won't know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
So he needed me to be there. Like, I can identify with what he's talking about. There's many times like, how this goes, Chris? I'm like, yeah, I get that, So I mean, like, I'm talking fighter to fighter here, and that's what it's about to me. I love telling, my old school stories, and I want to hear his, you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to hear these beautiful, fantastic stories, and they're going to die if people don't get them out there. And they're so interesting. Like, you're not going to get these anymore. You get a guy who gets to the UFC now, he's not going to have stories like this, stuff that happened back 20 years ago. They're so neat, man. They're so, I mean, I know one of the big ones we're going to get here. We're going to get Mark Coleman here soon. He hardly does any interviews, but man, like we've talked to him, he's just a legitimate maniac, and I can't wait to hear his stories, man. But like fighting back in like 1995 and 90, I mean, I can't wait to do stuff like that. We did the last interview with the polar bear before he's unfortunate passed. It just, so like I'm saying, we're getting some. These are the stories I like to hear. And like I said, we're mixing other ones in with newer guys. But like I said, even the newer guys, they still got great stories. We did Eric Anders. This guy is like training for 2 years with guys who didn't know very much. And he had like 20 amateur fights because that's where he learned to fight. He didn't learn in the gym. He learned in the cage. So it's like, dude, this blows my mind. Like he had a very old school mentality, even though he wasn't that old. You know what I mean? He's still fighting. So it's just that we had Darren Elkins on there. I mean, just so many good stories. I really love doing it because, like I said, if we don't record this now, these new people aren't going to remember. They're not going to know this stuff. And this is stuff I think is important about the history of the sport.
You're obviously, doing it, but do you like being on the other side of the mic? How do you like that part?
You know what? I when I'm doing it, I am really here just to help facilitate, talk to the fighter and identify to bring out what he's talking about. My guy, Mike, is like, Mike Davis is going through and doing all the research and watching all the films and coming up with mainly the questions. I'm just listening to what the fighter says and trying to bring out more what he's talking about and that. So do I like doing that? Absolutely. I've been on both ends of this, and, I like it when people try and, probe me and go. I want to know what direction you want to talk about, because if you can tell when you just open it up and I'll ramble on for about 15 minutes about something you probably don't even want to know about. So the more direction you give me, the better.
Well, listen, we super appreciate you giving us some time tonight. Like I said, we love the podcast, love what you do on Bare Knuckle with the commentary. I think you have a natural gift for that. You just obviously one of the most exciting fighters ever to watch, and I'm sure that every fan that talks to you tells you the same thing. We appreciate it, dude. Where can everyone find you and see what you're up to on social media?
Yeah, man, I'm always Chris Lytes Out Lytle on Instagram. Yeah, I think same thing on Facebook, man. But I really never did Instagram for a long time. I was like, I'm out on this one. And then I started doing the bare knuckle thing. I was like, okay, I'll try this and start doing it. So, but I'm kind of starting to like that one now suddenly. So yeah, follow me on Instagram. And I promise if you hit me up on there, I get back with you. People are always amazed that like, you really got back with me. I'm like, hell yeah. I like talking to people,
awesome.
man. I'm a people person. So follow me there. I'm always doing my bare knuckle thing. I got the Lytes Out Podcast. I mean, I'll respond to you guys and anything you guys want. And really appreciate you guys got a good podcast here. Thank you very much for letting me come talk with you guys. And anytime you want me to come back and talk, anything else, we got bare knuckle news, whatever. Let me know.
Absolutely, dude.
Before you go, just in Rocco's defense, the only reason why he deleted your fight off his DVR, it was for Chica Boom's 13. Have a great night, brother.
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Have a good one.
We appreciate it.
Bye-bye. That was Chris Lytle. That was fun. Lights motherfucking out.
Fucking lights out.
No, you what I took away from that interview? I took away
that nice people can fucking kill you. Yeah.
I took away that's old school.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
let me tell you something.
Like that's old school right there. Like,
let me tell you something. So and we touched upon it in the interview. He wasn't a guy who went for takedown. First off, his jiu-jitsu, sick. Look how many submissions he has. But he only did that when he had to, like when he was taken down or what have you. But like he stood and banged. Every punch was thrown, knockout power, both of his hands, both of his legs. If he was the type of guy that would eke out decisions, yeah, maybe he would have got further. But like, I don't know that you would have that kind of cult following that he does if he did something like that.
You could tell he's got a good personality for the podcast. And you could tell that, like, he's got like that Midwest Southern type of, like that little charm going. And he can bang out, like you said, bro. Awesome guest. Fucking really. I mean, what a great career. And like you said, ending it with Dan Hardy with a for
mission
a win.
Victory, dude. Family came in the cage. It really was a special moment.
That's
and
awesome.
You don't get that a lot in MMA.
So follow Chris. Check out his podcast, Lytes Out Podcast. You can check him out on YouTube. You can check it out on Spotify, probably. With that being said, Rocco, what do you have to say to the people?
If you just heard us talking to our boy Lytes Out, and you got mad clout because you drink Guinness Stout and you say peace out, Cub Scout, no doubt, River Trout, then you just listen to Knock These Two Fucking Guys podcast.
We out.
No doubt, River Trout.
Oh, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Do it again. But I'm also on a gummy.
Dummy on a gummy. Dummy on a gummy.
Man.
Dummy on a gummy.
Okay.
Dummy on a gummy. If you just heard us.
Do it.
I fucking hate you. Are you fucking microdosing?
Yeah, something like that.
You got a micro penis, huh?
Fuck you.
All right. Fair enough.